Okay guys, here we are with the new ESM 81-inch P-39. It's a nice looking airplane. We're getting ready to start with the cockpit kit on it. The canopy's so big I won't be producing a clear canopy for this thing. It's just too big for what I can do. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is I've already kind of got it marked off to where I'm going to start with the cockpit area. What I'm trying to do is, of course, ESM does not plan on you putting a cockpit in it, and what I'm going to try to do is leave this back area here. You'll just have to add a former behind it so you can support this, but I'm going to try to leave this across here so you can use that as your servos, because you can get your elevator and your rudder and anything else you need back here. The only thing you'll have to do is move the fuel tank up here into the front, which would help your nose weight anyway. And also, if you're going to make it electric, you can get your batteries in through the nose wheel opening pretty easy. So all that can go up front, and the only thing you would be losing is your holder for the fuel tank. I think I can make it work. It'll make it a lot easier installation if I can do that. Anyway, like I said, I've got it all marked off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this area cut out. As you can see here, I've used my 1/4 inch tape as normal on this. On each side, that gives us a little bit of a standoff on each side. And then, let's see. So far, I have moved this back right at 7 inches. I'll give you a final total on how far I moved it back, because I'm going to see if this will work. Anyway, so 1/4 inch on each side. We're going to take the dash out right here, and then from here back 7 inches. If that changes, I'll let you know after we get it cut out. Okay guys, here we are back with the P-39. Since I've talked to you last, or finished a little last piece of that video, I've got the whole cockpit installed. I'm going to go back and show you what I've done. Anyway, like we were showing before, coming from the front of the dash here back, it's exactly 7 inches. And what that does, it allows us to come in here and continue to have the rear part of the servo tray in. It's intact. There's a back piece here. You can come in here and add another brace in here if you want, if you feel like you need it on that side. But we were able to cut this back and allow the cockpit to go in place and maintain this servo tray. One thing we also had to do is we removed all the servo tray forward, except for we left about a 1/2 inch off of the side, and you can see it from the top. Let's see, yeah, right here it's a 1/2 inch, and then we cleaned the stringers coming up. We cleaned them off from a 1/2 inch down to 0 up here. Okay, coming up a 1/2 inch down to 0. All right. Once you get all that done, you will still have to make there's a former up front. You'll have to make you another tray for the fuel tank or servo, or the battery packs if you choose to go electric. But this allows us to put a complete cockpit into the airplane. Anyway, once you get all that cut out, and like any cockpit kit I do, you need to trial fit everything before you glue it. When you get the main part of the cockpit, it will be on one, let's back this up a little bit, one large sheet like this. Okay, now you'll notice that I got some detail molded into it. Now one thing I'm going to show you, there is a webbing here. What I was going to do is I was going to make this part separate, but I found out it was much easier for the person putting it together if I went ahead and pulled that part into the base. This webbing here, once you paint it and you put the seat in, the seat goes right up against it. You'll never see it. Okay, so just don't worry about that. You can cut it away if you want. Just snip it on both sides if you feel like you have to, but you'll never see it either way. All right, you're going to see that it's all on one piece, and it's going to come just like this, cut off around. So what we're going to do is come around here on all sides and cut, leaving about an 1/8 inch. You can see I drew a black line, and as we get to this corner here, we'll come and go to 0. All right, now we're going to leave this top ledge, and we're going to cut this out. here is the very first prototype I did. You can see I come up, left about an 1/8 inch, come from here and went straight to the corner, leaving this overhang here. And that overhang will be all the way around. We'll do that all the way around. And you're going to leave about a 1/4 inch of this all the way to the end. All right. Once you have all this cut out, you can go ahead and crimp it, and so it'll fold up. I'm going to show you. You see this cut out here? Like I said, this early one, it's cut out a little further. What you want to do is come from the front edge back 1 inch. All right, and cut it there. All right. That allows it to drop into place into the fuselage. All right. It just fold it up like this. We're going to just come up from the bottom. Well, and it locks right into place. Okay, it's not hard to do at all. Alright, once you got that trowel fitted into place, well, we'll go ahead and leave it in there. Like I said, it has some detail on it. I'll show you the resin pieces that go on in just a minute. Next thing we'll look at is the dash itself. That's what it looks like when it comes on the part when you get it. Alright, we're going to cut this out all the way around, leaving as much as we can all the way around. I just use a real fine scissors. You can stay along the edge and you'll be able to cut that whole thing out. Alright, once you get that cut out, down here at the base, you can see that it angles. I hope you can see. It angles forward just a little bit. We're going to cut up that crease and remove a little bit so we can push that flush with the bottom. I had to make it with a little bit of bevel there so it'd pull out of the mold okay. So, but that's going to end up being pressed and be 90 degrees or just go straight back. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take that piece that's once cut out and we'll set it on a piece of 4 inch wide, 1/8 inch balsa. We're going to trace around it. Okay. Once you trace it, you want to cut it to where it fits just inside the back here. All right. And before you glue it, you're going to take a 3/64 inch drill bit, and you're going to see there's little divots. There's 3 up here and 3 down here. You're going to drill those out. And you make the toggle switches like I've shown you in the past. Here's a sample piece that I've drilled some 3/64 inch holes in. You're just going to take a toothpick, and this is one I hadn't done on this end, and you just scratch it back and forth until you get a little bit blunt. You can make it as round as you want, and then clean it up. Okay, I've already done this side, and you just take this and you just work it through to the way you want it to look. And you can bend it down, bend it up, and however you do it, you glue it in place, and it will remain in that position. And you're going to do 3 across that way. Okay. So now once these are pulled, they're just a tad thinner. This is some unpulled plastic, so it's a little bit thicker and harder to work with. Once you have those in, you want to make sure that they're flush with the back of this here. So that's about a maybe 3/32 high. You want to clean it off to where it's no higher than the back of where the gauges are here. But once those are all glued in, then you want to glue this piece in place. I just CA it in. And you're going to come down here on the bottom, you're going to make another piece, 1/8 inch, it'll fit right in there, and glue it in place. This makes it nice and rigid, so it'll fit in place. Okay, what you want to do then, you're going to take it and just trowel fit it in. It just slides in at an angle. It should pull up and just lay right into place. Okay. Now, something I didn't show you. I talked about the dash here. On the dash, I was going to cut. I talked about coming up here and cutting this dash out. I left it for the strength. As long as you cut it straight across, I just left it on this one. Or you can remove it all but about an 1/8 inch. It's just whatever you want to do. But if you leave this flat, or where it's cut flat across, the dash, when it comes in here, these pieces right here will fit right along the edge there. So as you bring it in and pull it into place, these should fit just right up against the base there of that. All right. So once we trial fit that, make sure it all fits upright, then we need to start adding other pieces of this. We got the guns that goes in here and the cocking mechanisms and everything like that. What we do next is, I'm going to try to go through this real quick because I did it and it's really easy, is come in here and I've got made some 1/8 inch scrap balsa, and I just made some standoffs. You're going to put, it ends up being a 1/4 inch thick. You can use 1/4 by 1/2 inch balsa if you want. And we're going to glue those right here and one in the middle. Okay? They don't have to look pretty. Just make sure you put them on there. Then we're going to come across the back with, this is 1/32 or 1/64 inch ply, and glue that across the back. Okay? That gives us a 1/4 inch standoff from in here. Now we're painting all this black, but what we do that for is the guns, the rear of the guns come in here and they're going to glue to that piece. Okay? So they glue right there, one on each side. These are, the rear of the guns are supplied in the kit. They just glue right there. Now to the sides of the cocking mechanism, you're going to have, well, the gun, you have the cocking mechanism. And now these come a little bit thicker. They're about 1/8 inch. It's just my mold. It was easier to do that way. You have to sand them down to about a 1/16 or 3/32. This will come in here. The right side gun, the cocking mechanism goes on the right. The left hand gun, it goes on the other side. But it just comes in here and it'll glue right on the side, just like that. What you want to do, what you want this to do when it's mounted, you want it to where the cocking mechanism will not actually touch the face. Okay, and this is long enough that you're going to have to clean off a little bit of this on this end. But the back of the gun is black and this is red. Here is the one of the finished ones. You can see it here. You got the gun in here and then the cocking mechanism, and it does not touch the face of the dash here. Okay, so but that, you can see how I glued that together and it comes across the back. Alright, something else I did include, I generally don't put foot pedals in there, but these, I made them because a 6 scale pilot will fit in this. I made these to match the boot of the 6 scale pilot. Anyway, you have one on each side. You just cut it out, clean it up, and I paint the whole thing black first, and then come back and paint the pedals themselves the green, and then put some, brush some aluminum on them. Look like they kind of messed up. You could do better however you want to, but anyway, they're in there. They go on the bottom. What I have done is I've made another 1/8 inch standoff on the back and glued those so they would be behind the dash. An 1/8 inch standoff there, as you can see, and these would be behind the dash. Okay, so they don't look like they're all the way up here. And you can make them further back if you want, but this will all slide in and go right into place. So it just fits right in. Well, excuse me. Let's do that again. You can take this, turn it at an angle, and bring it right into place, and it locks just perfectly in place. Okay, so your dash is really easy to go together. Another thing is you have the gun sight. When you get the gun sight, it is 2 parts. Actually 3 parts. You got to put a lens on it. You end up gluing this piece on the top with the angled piece coming back this way, and you'll have, I glue it together and then paint it all black. And then you'll have a piece of clear plastic that you can make your lens with. And then that is glued to the dash. And I drill a hole in it and put a toothpick in there to make sure that it stays for long term. One other small piece, it did have a standoff with a switch on it. I did make that in a piece of resin. You just have to clean the back up, make sure it's nice and flat, and glue it in place right here. So that pretty much covers all the resin parts on the dash itself. You can see the toggle switches I have over here. They turned out pretty good. Anyway, once that kind of covers the whole dash and putting it in place. Now, I'm gonna move to the rest of the cockpit itself. You'll have a joystick that will be supplied. there's a tiny hole in the center here. This is about a 1/4 inch joystick. You need to start working. I drill the hole out small and then start working it larger until the joystick will just fit right down in there. And once you finally get it to where you want it, you're going to glue it in place after it's all painted. One other thing you need to know about the cockpit deck before we get too far along. Get out and show it to you. Any of these will bow if you start putting pressure on it. On the bottom, what I've done is I come in here with a 3-inch wide piece of balsa, 1/8 inch, and I've glued from the front rearward. Okay, that really strengthens this up. It allows you to slide that dash into place and be really strong. I've done that. You can see on the finished one that I've done it on there. Okay. You also, I was going to show you on this one, show you where a little bit more of the resin pieces go. You got some rudder controls. I think this is rudder, and I think this one's the elevator, and I couldn't see what this one was marked. But anyway, there are resin pieces for it. It's got an 1/8 inch hole drilled in it. You'll be supplied with 1/8 inch dowel. You just need a small piece of dowel. There will be knobs that you'll be able to just barely drill an 1/8 inch hole in. You put the, just make them stand off. That's the way it was on the real one. This one here, it had a like a wheel on it. It comes as a, let's see, I had it sitting right here. It comes with the same base with a square piece on top. There will be toothpicks supplied. The hole's just big enough for it. You cut a piece wide enough and drill it. I mean, glue it in there, and then put the handle on the back of it. This is thick enough that you could barely drill an 1/8 inch hole if you just barely go in there, or not an 1/8 inch hole, like a 1/16 inch hole, to put that on the toothpick itself and glue that all together with CA. Okay, before you do anything to the resin parts, you do need to wash them in some mild detergent. It was kind of interesting to see that on the P-39 that the throttle control was right here at the door, so it seemed like it'd make it hard to get out, and all this was on this side also. But I'm not sure what control this was, but I reproduced it, and it did stand up off of a look like a metal tube. So I made one for both. This is 1/8 inch dowel. You have to drill a hole in the bottom of each one of those parts, and what I did was let's see if I can get it out. First of all, what I did was I made sure I drilled a hole at the same distance from the back in each one of these, about dead in the center. And you can see I've got this about, it's not quite a 1/4 inch, probably 3/32 inch wide, apart from each other. And then I put a piece of 1/32 ply on the back to keep them from vibration or anything to get to them. But anyway, I then put the cockpit into the plane, and I figured out where I needed to drill those holes, and those are drilled through the base and through the balsa, so they will fit in there. But those two pieces, you can put 2 throttle arms. The main one will be a big ball that's in there. You have to drill it out. There'll be a piece of a copper rod, and you'd have to drill a hole big enough for it to go in, and then sand off each side because it wasn't perfectly round. It kind of had flat sides on it. But I'll include a couple of those so you can do a little bit of trial and error with that. But anyway, the rudder, I think it was the elevator, and I'm not sure if this was the aileron or flat handle here. But anyway, those are glued. You can see where they're glued right there. I do include handles for the inside. In the there are holes here that show where you need to drill to put these in. These are resin pieces. They do need to be cleaned up a little bit. They may have a little bit of flashing on the backside. Just kind of easily scrape that off with the X-Acto knife. There is a right and left, so one side's more round than the other. This one would go this side. The other one I have laying here, if you clean it up, it'll go on this side over here, and you won't see any of the flat area if it is. There's also 2 handles here, one for each side. I have those. They're made extra long. You just cut them to where you need them, and they fit in place. You can't miss where those go. All right. So that pretty much covers where the all the resin pieces go. The chair is pretty self-explanatory. You just cut it out, and it goes right up against this. Well, the tape's not holding, but this control handle's right there at the edge. It went right up against the seat, so it'd be just like that. Okay. Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. I'm gonna put this back into place so we can see how it looks, and I'll be back and see what else we need to cover. Okay guys, I'm back. I've got it all installed. Everything's in place. It actually fits in there pretty good. Makes everything look pretty nice. One thing I did forget, I did include, because it was a prominent part of the cockpit, was a roll bar, and this will fit inside the canopy. Okay, it fits in there fine. What I did to make it is, when you get your kit, it will have this piece here. I hope this light's not too bright. You'll have this piece here, and the way we make the roll bar is we're going to take this and we're going to cut this out and just cut along the outside edge. We're going to remove the outside edge of this. We're going to leave this in here so we can make sure we keep our shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to 1/8 inch balsa. You can use a hard balsa, soft balsa. We're going to fill this up so it makes it a little bit stronger than just the ABS. So what you're going to do is go ahead and trace that out, and then come in 1/4 inch or just the width of this, and make another mark and cut that out. And we're going to push that into place and glue that in there with some CA. Now you want to make sure you got a good fit down here at the bottom, because you may later want to drill a hole to allow that to make it a little bit more rigid. And once you glue this in place, and you get ready to glue your canopy on, if you'll put one little drop of like goop on top here, this fits right in the middle of this big piece. It fits right in the middle of this big piece here, so you really couldn't see it, but that'll help hold that up and in place. And of course, you really wouldn't ever be taking the canopy off, I don't guess, unless you tore it up or something. But anyway, what we're going to do is go in here with 1/8 inch balsa first. Then we're going to come back with 3/32 balsa. Okay, and do the same thing, because we're not quite going to be 1/4 inch thick. All right, once you get that glued in place, we'll come in here and cut the inside out, and what you end up with is a piece that looks like this. And what we're going to do then is come on the back side and take a pair of scissors and cut that flush with the balsa. In the kit will be included a piece of plastic that's large enough that you can lay this down on it, or actually you can glue this to it and then cut it away, or you can either trace it and then glue it on there later. Anyway, that's the roll bar. That will be in place here. People have asked me about making parts for this back here. I could make a big piece out of ABS. That would be really difficult to fabricate, trying to make this big area and reproduce it. But what you'd run into later is trying to glue that big piece of ABS here, or plastic here. It would be easiest, if I were going to do it, is if you would take, there's plenty of detail online that you can see back here. There was like a hatch here, and some stringers that went across, and a couple more small things that went on back. If you would take some 1/32, 1/64 inch ply, and before you painted it, simulate that. Just glue it in, just make your parts, glue it in place, and make sure you sand it really nice and nicely first, so it doesn't show the wood grain, or either feel the wood grain then put it on. But you can add detail to that area very easily. I'm trying to make this kit where it would cover from here forward, and it will make this part easy to make, and make it look a nice looking airplane. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this up, the back of it up to you, a radio box or whatever, because there were so many different models, had so many different parts back there. And the post-war ones I have not seen of this particular model. I've seen the radio box in the back, so I'm gonna leave that up to you. I did mask this whole area off and painted it the interior green. This is the interior green. I I made sure that I covered enough of it so when this went on, that's all you saw was the interior green itself. So I used electrical tape to mask this off. I get the cheap stuff from Harbor Freight, and it wraps around the corners pretty well. One bottle of that paint painted this whole cockpit. I do also have a video on showing how I paint cockpits and what black paints I use and everything, if you want to go and find that video on YouTube. Anyway, okay, I just thought of one last thing I need to tell you. There will be enough plastic provided that you can put a back in here. You'll be able to slide it out. You have to paint it the color and be able to slide it up from the bottom and put it in the back here. Because we're pushing for so tight on space, I didn't make a pull piece with a lot of detail in it, because most of it was being covered with the chair, and we're just going to lock in the back of this anyway, and you really couldn't see if you put detail in it anyway due to the canopy. So I just wanted to make sure I told you that there will be plastic supply that you can lock in this back. It'll actually make the cockpit even a little bit more rigid. As always, I'm going to tell you that if you're especially using gas motors, you need to run maybe a piece of balsa, or you can use a piece of hardwood across the bottom of the cockpit, and so that it touches both sides. That makes it a little bit more rigid. It supports it, doesn't make the tops susceptible to vibration. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that there is going to be plastic for the back, and then you also do need to make some support for this to make it a little bit sturdier and hold up over time. But anyway, that's the end of the video. It's available from VQ Warbirds. And if you ever have any questions, my phone number's online at tiesplanes.com, or you can email me from there. But anyway, it makes a good addition to your P-39, and I hope you have a good day.